As we have seen rollbacks happening across the country, dining is an area where new restrictions are coming into focus, particularly in California. Wednesday evening outdoor dining there put on pause. I want to bring in the CEO of Fat Brand, Andy Widerhorn. And Andy, some of your brands. Look, I lived on Johnny Rockets growing up in San Francisco. Like I could take one right now. I would love it. But you guys have a lot of restrictions being placed on outdoor dining in California, where the weather, frankly, is so much nicer than it is in New York. Your stock right now, falling on the day. What what is the impact? What do you think about this decision to pause the outdoor dining?
The problem with the decision is there's been no data that supports the decision. You're letting people go into malls and shop retail, but they can't eat outside with plexiglass dividers or other table spacing mechanisms. It just doesn't make any sense. These restaurant operators invested all this money in infrastructure outside to keep everyone safe and separated, and now they're being shut down again. It just doesn't make sense.
Andy, this of course comes at a time when a lot of businesses are looking for additional help here. So while on the one hand, you look at a state like California, these restaurants are being asked to close, there are also not additional help coming through, at least on the federal side of things and the extension of a PPP, for example. What are you hearing from your franchisees in terms of how much more runway they have without additional help coming in?
Well, it's very, very difficult. I mean, look, in the markets where dining rooms are closed, so we're not talking about Florida, Georgia, Texas, but in California as an example, or some of the Northeast markets, it's really tough on these guys. They barely made it through. And the fact that Congress hasn't gotten together and passed another round of PPP is just ridiculous at this point, post-election, right? These operators need more PPP. We have a big real estate problem. It's a ticking time bomb here as well, because all these landlords granted rent deferrals. But there's no plan to help the small business operator catch up on their rent, and the landlords have mortgages to pay, so they're not going to walk away from it. So we need more PPP, and we also need some sort of stimulus, like perhaps a rollback of the 2019 payroll taxes, something like that would be pro rata. Otherwise, the industry is going to see more jobs out the door.
What's the scale of that you're looking at right now? When you say industry is seeing jobs out the door, to your point, we're coming up on the end of the year. A lot of the moratoriums are going to be expiring at the same time, no additional federal help. What kind of closures are you looking at potentially?
Well, within our system, we have a lot of fast casual brands. We can do a lot of delivery and to go. So we're okay, but maybe operating at 75% normal. And look, that's better than many. But I'm just saying that across the restaurant industry in general, you're going to have thousands and thousands of people out of work and restaurants that close. We've gotten to 10, 11% of the restaurants that are permanently closed in the country. And could it go to 25%? If they don't do something, it may be too late. They really need to pass another stimulus bill to help out the restaurant operators.
So it's a patchwork out there in terms of the restrictions that are on your brands. But I do want to, just because California is big and you have a presence there, I do just want to focus on it for a second. And if you have to go months, let's say, without having outdoor dining, can these franchisees, can these restaurants, I mean, you're saying you can have delivery at 70%. I mean, can they realistically survive, all of them?
So really good question. It depends on the type of restaurant you have in California. If you have a fine dining restaurant or a full sit-down restaurant, you have real issues because you're not going to get your delivery from 20% to 80%. Fatburger, Johnny Rockets, they can go to 75, 80%, and maybe they'll break even. They won't be making money, but they can stay in business for the most part. But if you have casual dining restaurants that are full sit-down, full table service, and you have fine dining restaurants, they're just going to be in a world of hurt. And it just doesn't make sense that they won't let them eat outdoors. There's no data to support that.
Andy, we've been talking so much about retail today because it is Black Friday and this shift that a lot of retailers have had to make with so much being online. When you look across your brands right now, how much of the shift that you've seen is permanent? And with this acceleration, especially with delivery, I mean, do you feel like you're a little more better positioned than, to your point, some of these sit-down restaurants? What do the investment costs look like in order to be able to sustain the kind of demand you've seen over the last several months?
Well, really interesting. Like Fat Brands, since we have 9 different brands, and on the East Coast, for example, we have Hurricane Grill and Wings, Buffalo's Cafe, and of course the Elevation Burger, Johnny Rocket, stuff like that. But the casual dining brands are selling right now over 100% in normal, because in the states where those restaurants operate, they do have outdoor dining rooms. They've been allowed to have return to in-store dining as well. And so with an increase in delivery, because awareness of delivery rose so much as the pandemic started, they're actually doing more than 100% of normal, which is amazing. But in markets where the dining rooms are closed, that's not the case. When you make an investment for outdoor dining, you're going to spend $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 a restaurant to build some sort of structure to house your guests, have heaters, tents, those kind of things, additional tables and chairs, weatherproofing. There's a real investment there. And it just doesn't seem right to close down any of those restaurants if they're taking those initiatives to keep people safe.